Thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to introduce this special session of our Florida Food Forum. And today's topic is very special. And I'm just so excited to welcome you all and everyone that's presenting today. Today's topic is strengthening the Southeast Florida's food system, partnerships and policies. And just to touch on what Kendra said, the Florida Food Policy Council hosts monthly forums that allow our members and the public and stakeholders and everyone interested in bettering the food system here in Florida. This is a forum and an area where we meet and have topics and discussions around things that interest to all of us around food, the environment, equity, justice. And today we're very fortunate to have Areli B. Lozano Cantu, who's a very trusted colleague of mine and friend. She's someone that's just an incredible human being and does such incredible work in South Florida. So I will introduce her. And she will take you through our incredible and esteemed speakers today and tell you a little bit more. They're our sponsors, so let me back up and thank our sponsors who is sponsoring this special forum. And our sponsor is the Food for All Broward Initiative, coordinated by Urban Health Partnerships. The Food for All Broward is an initiative to expand access to healthy food for residents of all ages, abilities, cultural, and economic backgrounds. And also, UHP, Urban Health Partnership, is a nonprofit organization founded in 2011 whose mission is to invest in our communities by co-designing sustainable change and promoting equity and well-being across the lifespan. Both of these incredible organizations do a lot more than can be summed up in this blurb that I have. So hopefully as we go through this presentation, you'll get to see the incredible work being done, as well as the incredible connections that have been built and relationships established with the food access champions in Broward County. So without further ado, let me turn it over to you, Areli, and thank you all for being here today.
And I will echo that. Thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Ms. Erica Hall and Kendra Love from the Florida Food Policy Council. I echo all the love going back to, because we have a really great panel today of doers and shakers and people that really have a passion for people. And I think that that's one of the things that makes us stand out in Southeast Florida with the food system work that we're doing, is that we really are thinking about people and how we can serve them first, and how we can figure out how to partner, how to move policy around, and how to make things better for everybody. So I'm going to share my screen and start with, before I do that though, I would like to let you know that this is a special forum. So it's going to be a little longer than our normal forums. If you are a normal comer to the forums, they usually last an hour and they're usually on Teams. Today we're doing it on Zoom and it's going to be an hour and a half. So if you have the time, I know some of you maybe just planned for an hour, but if you do have the time, I invite you to stay, because there's a lot of wonderful people on this call from Southeast Florida that are doing amazing things. And that second part of the conversation is going to be open for all of us to share, cross-pollinate ideas, and make sure that we are highlighting the wonderful work that is happening in our region. So now let me share my screen. Oh, wait, there we go. Can you all see the, perfect. All right, so how are we strengthening Southeast Florida's food system? Through partnerships and policy. We're gonna start talking a little bit more about the policy side of things, because we have some wonderful food access champions, food policy access champions that have been doing amazing things at their cities and the municipalities, making sure that people in our communities are getting better access to food, especially during these difficult times. I know one thing that the pandemic did bring to a lot of people's mind was that this is an important issue and that we really need to do something about it. So again, thank you all for being here. My name is Areli Lozano Cantu, and I am a senior program manager with Urban Health Partnerships. There we go. So I'm really briefly, we're actually right on time. I am a very, I like to engage, I'm not a big talker. So if you all bear with me, we're gonna do some new things that we normally don't see at the forum. We're gonna join Jamboard and we're gonna get to test out our co-design abilities. That we use that a lot through our work so that we can get people's ideas in one place. So I'm going to be jumping from this screen to that screen, and if you, I'm going to drop the link on the chat as well, so you can join as well and participate. But so we're going to do a really quick welcome and icebreaker on the Jamboard so that we don't take too much time. Then I'm going to go into an introduction of urban health partnerships and Food for All Broward. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're building policy systems and environmental change through collective power. And we're going to look at very specific, great examples of policy changes in the Broward County area, specifically in the city of Coconut Creek and the city of Hallandale Beach. And then at the end, like I mentioned, we're going to have a collaboration, partnerships, and action moment where we're going to be having a brief moderated Q&A, but then a convening, everybody coming together and sharing our thoughts and cross-pollinating ideas. So let me jump over to the Jamboard, but before that, we have our objectives for today, which basically are covered through the agenda as well, but these are a little bit more detailed. We're definitely going to get a better understanding of how we can do more policy and partnership towards the benefit of people and accessing food. But also with the connections that food brings to the table. And I'm going to be doing a lot of puns and analogies with food because it just comes. But when we put it at the table, we are going to be also looking at how food is not just about food. It's about our health. It's about our well-being. It's about our communities. It's about the environment. It's about economic development. It's really the morsel that guides us through the well-being landscape, right? So now we're going to go to the Jamboard and I'm going to drop the link on the chat. All right. Are you all seeing the Jamboard now? Beautiful. Okay, so I have a lot of different things that you could do on the Jamboard. Mostly we will be using the Post-its, which is right here on the left. You can click on it and you can just choose a color if you want, type up your different comments or your different things, and then you just paste it and it'll appear on the board. But I have this there just in case you want to get a little bit more creative. Some people like to add pictures. So, all right. So my question for you right now is, please let us know the name of your organization and the community or communities you represent. And I had already cheated and I put mine in there. And I see that some of you are here, so that's beautiful. Thank you for joining us on the Jamboard. Beautiful. I see we have the city of Hallandale Beach and Broward. And if these are the Post-its, okay. Perfect. Hillary, how are you? Feeding South Florida, another great partner. Florida Food Policy Council, statewide. University of Florida. Welcome, friends and family, really. I feel like we are in family here, all of us that do so much partnership in the Southeast region. Coconut Creek, University of Florida, Tampa as well. And for those of you that are connected to the Food Policy Council, of course, we've seen each other and shared through these forums, such a great space to cross-pollinate and convene. So thank you all for adding this. I'm gonna give a couple more minutes for folks to add, and then I'm gonna move on to the next one. St. Pete, beautiful. So we have a few Central Florida, Dania Beach Patch, wonderful, welcome. St. Petersburg. So we really have a big representation from St. Pete, Tampa, Southeast Florida, Broward County. This is wonderful. And please feel free to keep adding, even if you're taking a little bit longer. Sometimes if you've never used Jamboard, it might be a couple minutes. But please feel free to keep adding on there because we really would like to have a nice collage of all of us here in this Jamboard, or I call it a board with Post-it notes. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one. And I just want in 1 or 2 words or a very brief statement. Why did you join us this Friday? Because I know a lot of our A lot of people don't necessarily work on Friday, or they're doing all of their office work. And the fact that you're spending some time with us today, it's because something here matters to you. And I would love to know what that is. For me specifically, is that policy is an effective way to sustain food access efforts and collaborations. So I'm here because I really do believe that double P of policy and partnerships really does make a difference. Address root causes to end hunger through collaboration. Wonderful. I think without collaboration, we really won't get to do it without collaboration personally. I want to learn how to create robust food systems in my community. Yes, we need stronger local food systems, food economies, agreed. To learn from others and share what we are doing in our community. Yes, we're gonna get to that. I'm so excited for that part of the agenda as well. Excited to hear about programs in the community, interested in policy ideas for the cities to address nutrition insecurity and equitable food systems. Beautiful. That's definitely part of one of the main reasons why we're all here. I think we really want to make sure that people that need food and have difficult access to food have easier access to food, and that we all have the same levels of nutrition available to us, because even if you have access to food, as we know here, sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that you have nutritious food. So those are very important pieces. Thank you all for sharing your thoughts and for sharing with us why you're here. This is really important. I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds in case anybody has a last burning desire. I want to learn how to create, to see how I can connect with small scale growers. I work with the Southeast Florida, within Southeast Florida, with nutritious food in local communities. Oh, wonderful. So definitely we need to connect. Small growers are really who are going to be pushing our local food systems and strengthening them. So thank you. Policies reflect the overall vision and help guide leaders among municipalities to share and learn. Definitely, they serve as a groundwork, right? They serve as a path for us to follow. And actually, the speakers that we have here today are going to tell us a lot more about that. All right, for now, I'm going to, again, if you want to stay on the Jamboard for a little bit more, I'm taking it off the screen, but you can stay there and add more thoughts. And I would love if you did that. So please feel free to do that as well. I'm going to go back to the presentation. And so thanks again for sharing your thoughts and for sharing who is here with us. It makes me really happy to see you all. And now I'm going to talk a little bit more about who we are at Urban Health Partnerships and what Food for All is, and how it has helped us connect with amazing people like the commissioners that are speaking here today with us, and all of you on the Zoom call today, who in some shape or form we have been connecting and collaborating. So Urban Health Partnerships, our mission is to invest in our communities by co-designing sustainable change that is going to bring health equity across the lifespan and for everybody, and focusing on the communities that need more equitable systems and more justice too. We actually do it through three main areas. We have a healthy streets and public spaces area focus. We have age-friendly communities for longevity, and the food access, security, and justice, which is basically the area that Food for All falls under. But we also do all of this through a very community-driven leadership model that we have a community liaison framework that really helps us guide all of our work from the community, by the community, and with the community. And with our goal at the center of building a culture of health equity, where everybody has access to health, access to economic development, access to mental and behavioral health, and access to food. We have several projects that we are working on under the umbrella of food access, security, and justice, but today the main focus is our original one, the one that really got it all started for us, and that one is the Food for All Broward Initiative that started in 2018, thanks to funding from the Health Foundation of South Florida. Food for All has an approach, and our approach is that food is just the start. Fruit is the low-hanging fruit of a lot of different efforts and things that we can fix and help improve and analyze and assess and figure out ways to improve and make better together. So food insecurity, yes, it's about hunger and it's about people not having the proper access to food, but it also is about economic development. It also is about healthcare access. It also is about our physical environment, and it also is about our entire well-being, not just our physical well-being. And I love that picture at the patch. How we do it through Food for All, we have some goals that we've been following and they've been guiding us. We want to work with Broward County municipal leaders to support them in implementing policy changes and systems changes that are going to help build healthier communities. We want to develop and archive the food access policy systems and environmental change research and the evidence and all of the reports and strategies and recommendations that come from the community, from the municipal leaders, and from other places that we can then make sure that we can pass that on to others. And we have several tools on our website too to help out with that. And we also want to engage partners in sharing ideas. So this example, this is our convening, right? You know, if you've been involved in Food for All Broward, you're familiar with the convenings. And through partnership with Florida Food Policy Council, we are now doing a joint convening through the forum, which is a really special occasion for me personally, because it really is how I think that we all do the better work that we do. Our goal in the end is to really have a community food system, right? We understand that it'll always be connected to a more global, bigger system that connects to other places. But if we really focus on our integration of our community food system and the different processes and the different people involved in those processes to get food from the earth to our body, we really can make a big impact that is not just going to be good for the environment or just good for our bodies, but it's going to be good for everybody. And that's what this really says. And we do it through some strategies. So interactive convenings is one of the ways in which we do it. And that one's also, I see Hillary and the patch over there. So like I said, this is just a beautiful, beautiful meeting today. We also have technical assistance and monitoring support. So we provide all of those tools and evidence-based strategies and recommendations that we gather. We are then able to share and pass them on to other people, other communities, municipal leaders, staff at the municipality, so that those items, those tools, those materials really become something that is actionable in our lives and in our communities. And we also do it by establishing municipal commitments, right? We also know that commissioners, mayors, government, it is really important when you are our guides and our leaders in our community. So when you do things that tell us this is good, we always, well, most of the time we like to follow, or a lot of us will say, well, maybe not so much in those things. But when you're doing good things for the community, people like what you do. And getting your commitment for the people, for the food, for the health, and for the economy of our communities and those that are most vulnerable is definitely going to be something that we really believe in. And through it all, we've actually been developing a framework that has 3 main areas: by building collective power, by supporting with technical expertise, and by supporting with food system coordination. Food for All Broward is able to leverage and coordinate and support and assist in ways that allow us to connect different partners that are doing different things to do more and better together. Now moving on to policy systems and environmental change and the collective power approach, which is really a lot of what we do at UHB. This model, this framework that I'm going to share right now is really how we work in a lot of our areas, but here in Food for All Broward and in our food systems work, it really is what grounds all of the stuff that we do. Why? Well, because organized action can inform local, statewide, and national policy, right? So we can organize, whether it is small scale or large scale, whether it is grassroots or grass tops, whether it is municipal leaders or elected officials, but we all have an ability to influence and inform state policies, federal policies, local and municipal policies. Obviously, it might be easier to influence our local because we are here and we are in our communities, but there are also larger movements. And those impacts in the policies have community impacts, material impacts in our community. Then we also have that our community-led organized efforts, in the way that they organize, they also lead to specific policies, not just to inform them, but to actually say, hey, we're doing this. Can we make a policy that supports what we're doing? And so when you have movements and programs and initiatives and research and evidence, those items with the community, when they're community led, when there's organized approach around them, and when we come up with policy systems and environmental change solutions to our issues, we are also funneling that big impact into our communities. We're going to go back to the Jamboard. As I said, I like to be a little bit up and down on there. And it's the same link, so you don't have to travel anywhere else. I will repost the link just for those of you that may have joined a little bit later and missed it, or those of you that got dropped off, and that happens. So I'm putting it back on the chat. And now if you want to move with me to the next slide, which is 4. Could you please share any food access policies and or partners who advocate for policies in your community? So if you know any food access policies very particular in your community, please share them with us. Or if you know people or organizations in your communities that are organizing for this type of change, you can put it on. So I'm going to put here. I put Florida Impact to End Hunger there. Great partners. I know Kim was there and I'll call for a little bit, but I don't know if she's there. But they've been doing amazing work around policy statewide. And they also work with a very local and statewide approach, which I love. And they were actually yesterday with Nikki Fried talking about getting the money for the pandemic EBT benefits for our families and for our youth here in Florida, which we have not applied for based on our government yet. So Florida Impact is a great organization if you haven't heard about them. They do amazing work around policy for the most vulnerable. And we have here Gainesville Urban Agricultural Ordinance. That's a great one. Yes, actually, we've used Gainesville Urban Agriculture Ordinance as one of our evidence-based strategies and examples for others to share. We have the tropical fruit growers in South Florida. Okay, that's a great group. And actually tropical fruit growers in South Florida have made a lot of impact in policy, because I don't know if you know, but at some point, some certain fruit trees are forbidden and have been not allowed. And some of them have their reasons, but some of them have been a little bit more difficult. So that's good. Florida Department of Health, of course. Broward Mobile School Pantry in Dania Beach Patch, Feeding South Florida, all of those, Meals on Wheels, and the Policy Institute, UHP. Oh, thank you for the shout out there too. Yes, we're all doing amazing, wonderful work around policy and partnering around advocacy for the people that we live with, the people that we work with, our communities, and the fact that we all need to have access to food. Thank you again. As the last time, I will leave this open. Feel free to continue to add. This is a collective knowledge building, collective sharing of knowledge, and we will make sure that we can share this information on our website later on. So please feel free to add as much as you want. I'm going to stop now though, and go back to the presentation. So the way that we do this at Food for All and at Urban Health Partnerships is we believe in community-based leadership. And for that, we have a community liaison framework. We do collective impact, policy systems and environmental change approaches, technical assistance and support towards community action planning, policy scans and place-based assessment, and all of this with a very action and advocacy-oriented lens. Our community-driven leadership towards sustainability is about hiring community members, working with community members in the communities that we're working with, building their capacity or supporting their skills, highlighting their skills, and working together so that we can together integrate more people and more community into the mix, so that those engines keep turning on the way that people want them. And we are building policy systems and environmental changes that have shown to be very successful in building sustainable change. As I said, policy systems and environmental change have strong evidence in building sustainable change. And the way that we pair it up with the collective impact approach, where we share an agenda, where we have a common progress and measures, mutually reinforcing activities and communication, and a backbone organization, we find that those two together in many of our initiatives are really a great way to build the collaborative, to build the communal approach to the work that we do, so that we are all following some similar goals and then work around them so that we can leverage each other, support each other, and so forth. And in this presentation is going to be made available to all of you, but just a quick note that the video on this one is a short training on collective impact and policy systems and environmental change that we put together. And I really find it very helpful in getting started on knowing what this all is about. And then the other thing that we do that is very effective too, and actually probably the speakers today are gonna sound familiar, because this is a process that we do with creative action, right? So we call it the 8 steps to build a successful community action plan. And the goal of this is to do a collaborative build out of a community action plan. That can be something as small as making a community garden in our community, or something as big as changing policy in the county, right? So we usually do a SMART goal, and then we share knowledge like we've been doing in the Jamboard. That would be an exercise that we do for sharing knowledge. And for those of you that are involved in some of our collective impact work, you are very familiar with the circle and the different steps, because we've been doing them together. So by growing through the goal, growing through the knowledge, growing through how we work through our networks, we are able to then identify motivators and intercepts, things that bring us together, so that then we can propose and implement change. And this is a very iterative process, which is what I love the most, is we're learning every step of the way, and we can take a step back if we need to. We can come back to some of the knowledge that we had looked at, updated. So I think that that's what makes it really great, because I mean, the pandemic has shown us that things don't always stay the same, right? We do data-driven efforts, and this actually we do very closely with a great partner, Feed, Anthony Oliveri, great GIS expert, food systems, and working with the data that we have from our communities and the data that our partners bring to the table too, we're able to then identify potential gaps and assets that we can activate and we'll go from. And then the other thing that we do too with Feed and with Anthony Oliveri is doing policy scans. So we look at what is out there, what are the policies that exist. This is actually from 2017, I believe. No, actually, this one is from the 2019. So this one is a little bit older, but this is where we started in 2019 to then start talking to some of the municipal leaders and the different people that are involved in the work of Broward, specifically for this one. But by looking at the policies that are in place, then we have a better understanding of what are the things that maybe the municipality may be looking at. And then by coming to the municipal leaders and the municipal staff and listening and hearing where y'all are at, then we start kind of tying on those dots and figuring out where are the best approaches to move forward with change in our communities. And obviously this is looking at the policies, if they are in the comprehensive plan or if they are in a zoning code. And as you'll see, Fort Lauderdale and the county have a lot more than some of the other municipalities, but some of these numbers have been updated. We need to do a new policy scan after 2021 to get an update, because actually the pandemic has made some important changes for people. And we also want to highlight the food system activity, right? Because policies don't necessarily overarch the food system. Some of them are just dealing with growing. As you see, there's a lot more policies about growing in our municipalities in Broward County than there are about storage and distribution. So it is important for us to see this too, because then we can say, okay, so what can we do in the area of storage and distribution? Because one of the things that is highlighted by programs and by our partners that are on the ground doing a lot of the food services and food support and food opportunities in the community, they also say, hey, storage and distribution is one of the biggest issues, but then policy doesn't back that up. So this type of exercise of looking at policy and looking what is happening on the ground through our partnerships, that's where this is really effective, because we can pinpoint where is the policy that is going to help what's happening, and where is what's happening going to help the policy. And in that too, the connection, right? This idea of food is not monolithic to just the growing on the trees and the bushes. It's connected. It's connected to our climate. It's connected to our infrastructure. It's connected to the things that we do in our communities, to our social structures. And so that's why it's so important that we look at food as something that is rooted throughout our systems. And I think with this policy from the climate change element in Broward County, for the county, it does bring that up, right? Creating programs and policies that encourage and support composting, community garden networks, local food production, in order to meet the multiple goals of reduce gas emission and energy consumption, right? So now we go from food into energy, and while increasing the resiliency and long-term food security of the community. Resiliency, right? All of these things that are connecting our social, our economic, our environmental, and our food and our health. That's how we need to look at this. And the people that look at this really well are the people that we work with. And I am so pleased and honored to be here with Commissioner Sandra Welch from Coconut Creek and Commissioner Sabrina Javellana from the city of Hallandale Beach. They will be sharing a little bit more about what they are doing at their municipalities. But I also want to let you all know that as in the years that we've worked with Food for All Broward at UHB, we've been able to identify municipalities that are doing a lot and really streamlined, and that seem to just understand the process a little bit better. And I think it's because of I call it the trifecta, right? When you have a municipality that has municipal staff involved, the city manager or somebody from the city manager's office involved, and then a commissioner or a leader of the elected officials involved and in the loop. When we have that trifecta, it seems that it makes it for a lot more productive policy change at the municipal level. So without further, I think that I'm just going to leave that out there, because that's why we consider Commissioner Javellana and Commissioner Welch food policy champions, because they do this. We did something with them. We started with a little thing, but they just keep going. And I think it is because the team that they have in place and the way that they really believe in people and taking care of our communities. So I'm gonna introduce both of them really quickly. And then after that, we'll have Commissioner Welch speak first, and then we'll have Commissioner Javellana speak after that. But specifically in the city of Coconut Creek, I call them the green team. They do a lot of work around the environment and making sure that the connection between the environment and food are always at the forefront, making sure that the most vulnerable communities in Coconut Creek are always at the center of attention, and that they are always looking forward and moving into a direction that is going to be better for the environment, better for the community, and better for the well-being of all of the residents of the city of Coconut Creek. So Commissioner, if you'd like to unmute yourself, I'm gonna be quiet.
Okay, thank you, Aurelie. I'm telling you, you are on top of everything. And once you meet Aurelie, you're hooked one way or the other. But would you like me to tell you about the Coconut Creek's vision and mission right now? All right. Again, thank you. It's a privilege and an honor to be here to represent, along with Linda Whitman, our city of Coconut Creek. But recently, we just completed with a great number, I'm proud to say, of our residents in the Vision 2030 document. And what's so important about that is because it brings our vision and mission of our city current as to what the residents decide is important to them and what we should actually focus on. So here's what our Vision 2030 is: an innovative, inclusive, and progressive community with a small town personal touch. Mission: to provide exceptional, responsive, and sustainable services for the Coconut Creek community. And this is really important to note because in preceding budget years, when we were preparing, we utilized the Vision 2030 document. And every year we reviewed it to go through all of the items to ensure that some of those were ticked off and included in our budget and accounted for. So it held us to the gun as to the focus that the residents wanted us to comply with. And each area, those strategic goals that define the accomplishments and the outcomes. And while each has a unique characteristic, the city investment in a single area impacts obviously more than one focus area. And one of these 5 areas of focus is sustainable environment, which is exactly why we're here today. And the city, I feel, is a leader in sustainability and will address issues of environmental preservation and climate change in all areas that we serve. The city will have protected open space to preserve natural areas and promote sustainable practices within the community. Programs, projects, and services will be developed with sustainability in mind. And we've made environment and sustainability a cornerstone, actually, of our community from its beginning. And we formalized it with this intent in 2009 with our green plan. And it is reviewed and documented every year to help guide additionally in decisions in those matters. So We want to be a leader along with others in our community of Broward, just like fellow Commissioner or Vice Mayor Javellana from Hallandale Beach, to be a regional in sustainability. But the city's vision and mission, I think the secret sauce in gaining success as an elected is for something that you truly believe in aligning it and getting buy-in, is to ensure that the initiatives that the city already has similar goals with whatever it is that you're presenting to them, just like food for all. So those goals were already established, and it was an easier sell to our city manager and her staff, along with my fellow electeds, to bring these items forward and to make them even more steps forward together. And we really relish and we're proud the day that we met this organization in Raleigh. So thank you.
Oops, there we go. Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I am going to now pass it on to Commissioner or Vice Mayor still.
Commissioner, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, but yes, previous Vice Mayor and also Commissioner Welch is previous mayor. So they both Sabrina and Sandra have been at really taking the lead and also being part of the team with their cities. So Commissioner Javellana is from the city of Hallandale Beach. I am pleased to say too that I know Sabrina from organizing from a lot of different places, and so just knowing the core of this woman too, it's really important to say that these people in the cities, they love people, they want to work with people, they want to make sure that all of us are okay. And I think that is what makes these two wonderful women and their teams amazing. So Commissioner, please go ahead and tell us a little bit more about what you do at the city of Hallandale Beach, please.
Thank you so much, Raleigh. And I just want to give a shout out to all the women who are on this call and getting shit done. I don't think it's a coincidence that women are leading in this field. So just happy late Women's Equality Day to everyone. But no, I'm really proud to be from the city of Hallandale Beach. If you're not familiar, we're in Broward County, right on the coast, right between Fort Lauderdale, right between Miami. You know, we're a small city geographically, but we have so many people. We're very densely populated, and so many people who are in need. We have a very low average salary for the average family. We have so many seniors. We have so many young families. And really one of my goals running for office was to make it a sustainable city. So, as I'm growing up, all my friends and my neighbors and my classmates can be able to continue to live in the city and continue to have their families here. So just all of this work is so informed in our goals for everyone. And so our city is really passionate about providing very superior services to meet the needs of our community, as well as future needs, by having this continued sense of communication with our residents. We want to have a thriving community that takes care of the very, very diverse populations that we have, whether it's in age, nationalities, background, by really learning from each other, learning from communities like Coconut Creek, Gainesville, St. Petersburg. I love hearing from cities and counties across the state on these new innovative ideas, because, it's great if we implement it in one area, but if we can duplicate it everywhere else, which is kind of like what UHP is helping to do, it can have even more of an impact. So by learning, by listening to our residents, and making informed policy and really budget decisions, I think we can achieve that thriving community that we want to see. So we hold community forums, we do telephone and Zoom town halls to make it accessible for as many people as possible, because some of our seniors aren't so Zoom savvy. Even I have trouble with Zoom sometimes, so we really make it as easy as possible for them to participate. Telephone town halls, just dial into this number, mailers to their homes. Hey, we're thinking about doing something regarding our shuttle system in the city to make it more easy to get around. So we try to make it as easy as possible, as accessible as possible for our residents to provide their feedback to us. And then we use that feedback from our residents, who these programs are for, to help us write the programs and the policies that we think will be most effective, helpful, and really reach the goals that we have in creating this community. And we've known from the start that all of this is interconnected. Our food is our health, it's our economy, it's our equity, it's our environment, it's our future, it's our children, seniors, community well-being, it's everything. And so Food for All Broward through Urban Health Partnerships has been really helpful to us as a community. Our mayor, our current mayor and our former mayor both signed the mayor's pledge, which, commits themselves, but also the city, to increasing awareness about the benefits of access to healthy foods for everyone, and the important role that it plays in our urban design and our urban agriculture, and working with our residents, our community organizations, faith organizations, nonprofits, schools, to expand these services so that we can all do this work together, and encouraging local efforts that are already happening. So we don't necessarily need to start over from scratch. Maybe there's a group that's doing work that we can help amplify or provide them resources with, and really talking about reducing our waste, whether it's food related waste or things that can add to the landfills. We really want to encourage folks, because we have goals in our county and our state for recycling, for reducing food waste, getting to zero waste. And, things haven't been moving as fast as they could. And of course, COVID put everything on a halt, and everyone was really just thinking, okay, how can we stop the spread of the virus? But at the same time, so many people were facing food insecurity, and things were also still being put out to waste. So we had to think about this during COVID, and make sure that we were still working on these goals, and we weren't distracted, because we can, chew gum and walk at the same time. So over the last 2 years, Food for All Broward, as well as UHP, have helped us look through our city's code. Every city has a code. It's, your book of laws, to see where can we update this. Sometimes these codes are not updated for decades. So where can we expand urban agriculture in our city? And so by this year, once we get done with our budget in September, I think our goal is in October to pass a resolution or an ordinance, depending on what we see to be fit, to further expand our residents' ability to grow, get, sell healthy foods. And Food for All Broward, having this coalition of organizations, nonprofit, schools, they've offered so much continued support, accountability to us, and helped us find additional opportunities where we can expand access in our city, as well as by working with local cities. I mean, sometimes we think within the confines of our city, but it's so much more. We have to, see beyond these imaginary boundaries and really work together with all of our neighbors, because, maybe, all of our students in our schools live in the neighboring cities, but we still want to make sure our students are getting the food that they need. So we have some really exciting policy changes that we're working on. So Aurelie kind of mentioned fruit trees. So the city for the last 2 years has been expanding our tree giveaways to residents. And we've also created an additional tree fund, which I don't know if you guys have ever read in the news, but it's kind of a crazy process sometimes when you want to remove a tree from your property. Say there's an issue, it's blocking a roadway. So to remove a tree from your property, or say a developer is coming in and your code requires 70 trees, but they only say they have room for 50. Per tree, that you're not planting, you're gonna have to pay into this tree fund. And we're gonna plant those trees somewhere else in the city, or give those trees directly to our residents to plant in their homes and on their properties, because we have a goal that we want to reach in Broward County, and specifically in Hallandale Beach, for 40% of our city being covered in tree canopy. Right now, we're not at that range yet. We're at the 0 to 19% range, which is obviously not good. And it's a little bit of a crisis that we need to work on now. So we know that by planting trees in our communities, it has so many different benefits. Not only, if we do the fruit trees, food access for residents, but also planting shade trees on sidewalks makes it a more walkable city. There's that interconnectivity there. Planting more trees is great when there's flooding, when there's a hurricane, a tropical storm, because these trees can absorb tens of thousands of gallons of water. And also they can reduce the rising heat temperatures that we are obviously experiencing with climate change in our city. So just making it has the health benefits, it has, the community connectivity benefits. So that's a really big thing of what we're trying to do. Gardens are another a policy that we're trying to implement. We were right before COVID in the process of creating a community garden with our teen zone, this after school program that we have in our Parks and Recreation department, where students were going to learn directly on how to create a garden, be responsible for it themselves, actually be selling the produce that they were going to grow to local restaurants in our city that we were requiring to purchase from here. So we're having this circular process in our city. Unfortunately, COVID put a halt on that. So once we can start that garden up again, I hope we can, see that entrepreneurship and that responsibility in our teen zone program. And we have a zero food waste policy in our community redevelopment agency. So a lot of cities throughout the state have CRAs, and basically what they do, their goal and why they exist is to reduce slum and blight. And they can do that through affordable housing projects, through creating economic development, through new businesses, improving infrastructure in the city, everything that would make it a more livable place where certain areas are currently struggling. So our CRA, one of the aspects we do is new business creation. So we help residents who have, a catering business, or they're known as the best, rib smoker in the area. We want to help them create an incubator and then help them expand that into like their dream, a restaurant. And so we've done that with a few different residents. But one of the conditions, upon receiving these taxpayer dollars is you have to achieve zero food waste, whether you're composting, whether you're donating to a pantry, you have to reach those goals. And not only that, but you have to pay your employees a living wage per our Broward County policy. And you also have to do everything you can to hire locally. So we're connecting the food and the economy and the environment in so many different ways. And I'm really proud of the things that we've done in our city. There's so much more that I think that we can do. And hopefully share these policies with our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends. We've had some great partnerships with groups like Patch Garden. Before COVID, we visited, learned all about hydroponic gardens, which I didn't know too much about before this visit. And they actually had started having a mini market in our city hall area where residents, come, they pay their water bill, they file their permits, different things that they come in to do. And so there was a little market outside where people could buy at a very affordable rate fresh fruits and vegetables that were grown by members of the local community. So that was something that was really great that I hope we can bring back once we kind of reopen the city and recover from COVID in a safe way. Another thing we were partnering it with is Mobile School Pantry, a local nonprofit in Broward County. They have a school bus, a yellow school bus that they converted into a refrigerator. And so they bring this school bus to the schools. We have 3 public schools in our city, and they park it in the front, and parents and students can go in and pick the different things that they want to get and want to make food out of. And it's like a grocery store visit in a school bus. It's really great for kids. And we've been partnering with them during COVID to expand that and make it easier for them to park this school bus, to store it, to help fund it. And of course, during COVID, we have done everything we could to take care of our families. Our seniors, we had so many seniors who were with us every day as part of like a daycare program where they kept their mind stimulated, they kept friendships with other folks who, maybe they don't have any families left. And so with COVID, it was really hard. We had to close that program and everyone was staying at home to obviously stay safe and stop the spread of coronavirus. But we wanted to keep checking in on these folks because, we had some really unfortunate calls and reports about, seniors who didn't have any food in their homes, who were eating, expired cans of food or even dog food. And it was really heartbreaking to hear. So we made tens of thousands of calls to check up on folks, tens of thousands of transportation trips to deliver fresh food and groceries and different things to our seniors, as well as our after school families. So parents with young children, school kids this was back last semester when they were still doing virtual school, to make sure that they would have their meals for the week during school when they would normally get breakfast, lunch, and sometimes even dinner after school, to make sure they had all those things that they needed. So just being a community that cares about its folks, that wants to see everyone be taken care of, and working with partners like UHP and Food for All Broward has been just such a joy to work with in the last 2 years really. And I hope we can pass some of these policies, the urban agriculture ordinance. Really interested to see the work that St. Petersburg and Gainesville have done. I learned so much from these cities, and I hope you all can take something from this. And thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Javellana, Sabrina. I think that both you and Commissioner Welch have not enough time to share all of the wonderful things that your cities are doing. And I know that there's always things that can be done and there's other things that are not happening, but I trust commissioners like you and the teams that you have, that you're always trying to do the best for your communities and for the people. So thank you so much. And for that reason, that's why we call you Commissioners Broward Food Policy Champions. I'm going to just really quickly, before we open it up to our Q&A, I want to highlight a few more of the partners that are on this call today, because we have, you mentioned some of them, the Mobile School Pantry, the Patch, we have Feeding South Florida, we have Florida Impact. I saw Liana Leyva from the South Florida Hunger Coalition. There's so many people from Central and North Florida, Gainesville, St. Pete. This is a beautiful forum. And I think one of the biggest reasons that we are all here is because the Florida Food Policy Council is another great convener, right? So another great partner that brings us all together once a month to discuss these important issues and to really think outside the box and outside our own communities, and really helps us link to each other. And again, using that Anthony word, cross-pollinating, right? So I'm going to also share a little bit more about other work that we're doing with the community members and the partners on the ground, which is the Food for All Policy Champions. I'm going to highlight that, and then also our Southeast Florida Food Systems Action Collaborative, FSAC, which is a lot of partners, and we want to keep growing. So why are Commissioner Javellana and Commissioner Welch food policy champions? Well, they're government individuals and teams. They actually their team has also been celebrated and recognized by us because they really do have a team effort. But what they do is they help improve access to healthy and nutritious food in their communities, as that's the simple one, right? But most importantly, they help connect the food systems to a lot of other efforts that are intended to increase economic opportunities, improve health outcomes, build a more sustainable future, ensure responsible and equitable infrastructure development. So as we saw, all of these things are connected, and they all impact our access to food and our health and our well-being. So for that reason, we really believe that food policy champions are the ones that are not just looking at food, but at the entire person and the entire effects of food on the person and the community. And then also they make a commitment to continue this work, right? Both Commissioner Javellana and Commissioner Welch are part of several councils. These women do so much, but they are part of several councils, that at all the councils that they come, and I've seen this firsthand, I've heard them, and I've been invited to participate because they bring food to the table, because they say we need to be talking about food. Commissioner Welch, for example, brought us to the Broward County Climate Change Task Force to bring attention to some of the ways in which environmental policies and climate change policies can help us influence what we do. But really what the policy champions do is this set of things. They collaborate with Food for All Broward and Urban Health Partnerships and our food system partners. It's not, we sometimes are just the channel, and sometimes we're just the phone call away that passes on, but collaboration is a big piece. Working within the municipality with the county leaders to integrate equitable, healthy food access into the policy, planning, codes, and budgets, whether it is through direct food policies or by providing a living wage, right? So also increasing people's income, it's going to help them get more food, right? So these connections are so important, and working within the municipality, but also across municipalities, is very important. Then also they help connect healthy food access options through the diverse programs and projects that they implement. As Commissioner Javellana mentioned, the fruit trees are something that the city of Hallandale Beach is doing in one way, but then the city of Coconut Creek is also doing it in another way. They used to do they did a tree giveaway for many years. And more recently, they started doing a fruit tree giveaway, right? So that then now the trees that they're giving to the community are producing some fruit in a few years. And then also becoming a member of the Florida Food Policy Council or activating your action in other councils, right? So like I mentioned, both Commissioner Javellana and Commissioner Welch, they both represent the food championship. Like they are food champions at the Broward League of Cities. They are the food champions at the task forces they participate in, and everywhere that they go, they're bringing this intersectional work into what they do. So whether it is joining a council like the Florida Food Policy Council to continue to bring us together, and or bringing your knowledge of food to the other places that you go, that's the other commitment that a food policy champion does. And then the last thing is to learn more, right? We don't know everything, and community members know more sometimes, and most of the times when it comes to food. So we actually just have to learn more and be open to learning and understanding from our communities and hearing them out and letting them teach us what we need to do. So these set of promises that a food champion does are what we really believe in. And we think that that's what makes Commissioner Javellana, Commissioner Welch, and their teams in the cities of Hallandale Beach and the city of Coconut Creek very effective at what they do, because they really do abide to these commitments and these promises. As Food for All Broward is coming to its second phase end, we really want to encourage more municipal leaders and municipal teams to be recognized as food policy champions. So in the next week or so, you'll be hearing from me again, and I'll be launching some like a campaign, because we really want to get more municipalities that are already there. Like, for example, we invited the city of Fort Lauderdale and the city of Lauderhill. Right now, we're also working with them in building from policies that we started with them 2 years ago as well. And now they're doing a lot of implementation through those policies. So we want to highlight the work that they're doing and the collaboration that they're doing. So if anybody knows of a municipality or a team or a staff member or an elected official that is doing great work around this intersectional work of food access and food justice, please be on the lookout. We're going to be putting that out there soon. And then the other piece is the partners, all of you on this call, the people that are bringing the programs, bringing the food boxes, the food bags, the deliveries, the distributions. I mean, let me give you all a round of applause before I keep going, because truly all of you are what make this work possible. And this is just one example. In this summer, after the pandemic, after a year of pandemic, this past summer, a group of us organized and said, we need to do more, right? A lot of the times as nonprofits, we get a little bit challenged by our grants, where we don't have the liberties to do more sometimes, or where we are constrained to a specific location or other things. But by coming together and leveraging each other and our expertises and our different realms of work of the food system, we're now starting to see a lot of that possibility coming up. And so FSAC, which is the Southeast Florida Food Systems Action Collaborative, it's a group that just started not this past summer. And we are organizing in the Southeast region on more of the action-oriented side. And what Food for All is trying, and UHP are trying to do, is support the on-the-ground work, so that can inform the policies too. And the policies, keep learning them, keep understanding them, keep working with the municipal leaders, so that then we can also inform the partners on the ground, so that we can all really continue to build this change together. There are some of the partners that are already part of the Food Systems Action Collaborative, and some of them are on this call. But there's a lot. I mean, if you want to be a part of that collaborative too, please just let us know. Natalia's on the call, I know, myself, and there might be other people there. But if you want to learn more about FSAC and see what we're doing and get connected and do more to help leverage each other and our work, please do that. Next. A growing Southeast Florida food system in action, right? So through the work that we're doing, and this is again, not just UHP, it's a lot of different partners. And when you see Food Systems Action Collaborative, it's a lot of different partners too. When you see Community Health Hub, that's a lot, that's 65 plus partners that are involved in that project. The Food for All Broward, right now, we have about 200 in our network. So when you think about these bubbles here, it's not just a single entity, it's a collaborative effort. It's a lot of people coming together, working together, willing to take a step back when needed and jump in when needed, right? So it is very important. I really do applaud this work for everybody on this call, even if I haven't gotten to work with you, but I've known about you from St. Pete to Tampa to Gainesville. This is what we're doing, and we're really making, I think we're really making a big change in this next years. We started it, we're building it. It's been building for years, but the pandemic, one of the silver linings that it brought to us is that it galvanized our work. It said, your work is important, and now we're going to support it. So let's take that and let's write that, because we are building something that's going to make change. This picture just highlights that there is the food system attached to this. You see the distribution, rescue, waste management, infrastructure on those bubbles on the right, retail, urban agriculture, nutrition and health services. So all of you in this call here are doing work in one of those areas. And so thank you for the work that you're doing. We are building Southeast Florida food system in action. And with that, I am going to open it up for our questions. I have a couple questions for Commissioner Javellana and Ms. Linda from Coconut Creek, because sadly, Commissioner Welch had another commitment that she had to go to, but we have another wonderful green team partner from Coconut Creek, Ms. Linda, that is going to also be able to share with us. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you before we open it up for everybody is, what are some of the things that have been the biggest challenge during this time in the pandemic, and trying to continue to do this work and trying to continue to push the lever forward to try to keep building food system and food access and food security in your communities? This pandemic really threw a wrench at everybody, and a lot of people did not expect all the things that happened, and a lot of people were very unprepared, and municipalities had a lot to deal with. So what was the biggest challenge in trying to keep on it during these difficult times?
Thank you for that question, Arely. I mean, there were so many challenges. First of all, the loneliness that people felt, especially, when I'm talking mostly about like seniors. That's a huge part of our community. Um, we called, we checked up, but there were certain things that we wanted to bring to them, but there were so many folks, and there were connectivity, technology issues. At times, our city department staff, they were out with COVID and quarantining themselves. There were a lot of parts during COVID where we had entire departments of our city out of work because of COVID hitting their families, quarantining, people resigning because they had to stay home and take care of their kids. Like, there was nowhere for them to, put their kids in childcare. That was a big issue. Honestly, housing was a huge issue for a lot of people in our community. So, maybe we could get you access to healthy foods, but if you didn't have a place to stay and rest your head and make these things, that was a big issue with evictions. I was helping relocate families, entire families, who were sick with COVID and still being evicted when we had all these different confusions about the eviction moratorium. And yesterday too, with the Supreme Court kind of throwing that out the window. So also, budget for a while was a really big issue, because in the beginning, in the middle of COVID, cities had no idea, when this was going to end. We still don't, but luckily we got some financial assistance from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan, through the CARES Act, which we were so grateful for. Those were lifesavers, lifeboats for us to help keep our cities afloat and continue to provide these services. And also, just the uncertainty of the future as we're in that position again. At times there were certain things that were our entire focus. We opened a vaccine and a testing site, and all available staff were on deck to help with that. Or say, when vaccines came out, we were driving folks there. We were up all night making appointments for our seniors. So at times it was like, okay, we have so much on our plate. We have limited staff and limited funds. Like, how are we going to get this done? But, our city was very dedicated. We had a lot of community volunteers, members of our CERT, our community emergency response team, who are usually used to coming out during hurricanes, but they activated themselves to help out during this crisis. But it's been difficult, and I'm interested to hear from Ms. Whitman some of the issues Coconut Creek has had.
Hi, thank you for having me here. And again, Sandy had to leave a little early. She might pop back on later. So I'm a senior planner with the City of Coconut Creek. So I have a little different perspective than the commissioners do, but I can tell you that for the City of Coconut Creek, we kind of shifted our priorities very fast when this took place. And we immediately set up some activities that would help our local businesses. We had grants available. We were able to take some slush fund money and immediately apply it to our businesses so that they could stay afloat. Another priority that we set was we had food giveaways, and all of the staff would go out to a particular plot of land that we have, and we were able to have the community, not just the City of Coconut Creek, but anybody that could come, and we would have a box available, and we set up all of our employees out to give these boxes of food away. We had our code enforcement officers going into our communities that were a little more low income to deliver the boxes directly into that community. And that was a lot of the things that I saw from my perspective of our employees getting together and helping, in our city trying to help the businesses and our community with those things. Also, as a planner, a lot of the items that I would normally work on were shoved aside, and we were immediately told, okay, this is your priority today. And this is coming from the commission. This is coming from the city manager's office. And we really dropped what we were doing. We didn't have any pushback from the developers that we were working with. We all just kind of pitched in at the same time to try to help what we could. And I really got to give it to our code team. They spent extra time in the field. There was basically a moratorium on any code cases. They spent their time checking on our community, making sure everyone was okay. We had very good feedback from all of our HOAs and our bigger elderly community we have, to make sure that we were all in communication. We tried to reach out if we knew of any specific circumstances, again, that came through our code enforcement division. They're on the streets every day in our police department, letting us know what kind of issues were current, and trying to take care of that very quickly. And I have to say that our city manager was on top of it. Karen was extraordinary in her efforts to get these things moving, and hand in hand with all of the team on the commission, and the team, all of our employees as well. So those were the types of things that we saw, continue to see. We're doing a little bit more of a planned approach now, again, with urban health partnerships, trying to do the projects that we thought of prior to 2020 and the problems that we're having with the pandemic. So we're trying to get more of the fruit trees out. We're trying to build a food forest, trying to identify these items that we had to let go of a little bit, and then move forward with those now, still keeping in mind that there may still be opportunities for food distribution and other projects like that. But that's where we are.
Thank you so much. And yes, I know that this have been difficult times for everybody. And I think that the cities have been doing the best that you can, from my experience. We have a great question here on the chat, and I am going to actually ask the question, and then after that we'll open it up. If you have an answer, Commissioner or Linda and Sabrina, if you want to answer, please go right ahead. But then after that, we'll open it up to the rest of the group, because we really want to have the last piece of this convening be a little bit more about a conversation. So the question is, are you encountering not in my backyardism or any apathetic constituencies? And if so, how are you overcoming those challenges? I know that for the municipalities is going to be a little bit different, because it's maybe just areas in your city that may have an issue with, I don't know, maybe composting or other things like that. But I can speak on our experience working with the different municipalities after, but I wanted to throw it out there for you first.
I can start. So I'll give you a really interesting example, the food forest. So we came up with this quite a while back with O'Reilly, and we love the idea. And the commissioners love the idea. City manager loves the idea. Everybody's on board. So then trying to find a location and working with our own departments. Amazing the people who have an opinion on where a food forest should be, but everyone has an opinion. So we're still working through the location. We have to make sure that the Public Works Department can get to it and take care of it. And it's something that they can, it's not something so far-fetched that they have to get new equipment or anything to take care of. So that's one element of it. Our risk manager started worrying about what if someone hurts themselves on the property while they're trying to get some of the food source, or if they have a reaction to something. So we had to take that into account. Then we had to think about, well, if wherever it's located, we have to worry about if someone's concerned that there's going to be people going to the food forest, using it exactly the way we want to, but it might not be what the neighbors want to see. So the NIMBYism in this particular project that we're trying to work on, it was far more, I guess, involved than I thought. I'm still thinking it's trees, it's fruit. Who could have a problem with this? but apparently people do. So it is still on our radar. We are still going to do it. It's still very popular. We just have to work the kinks out of it. So that was probably the biggest and kind of most eye-opening that I've seen on a project so far.
I would say very similar to Coconut Creek. I mean, we haven't heard a lot of complaints yet, but I'm sure once it starts getting implemented, we'll start hearing about it. But I mean, we will always explain how this benefits our community, how many people wanted it in our community. And, we have to just kind of get out of this mindset that NIMBYs or just, some people who like to complain online have, where it's the individual, me, my house, rather than my neighbors, my friends, my classmates, community, family, and taking care of each other and in a community mindset. So that's how I will always frame it whenever I've come before, NIMBY complaints. So I'm sure they'll pop up, but we are going to be steadfast in our goals to have some more urban agriculture in our city.
Thank you for those. And I guess in our experience too, I'm just going to add really quickly before we open it up. The way that we don't, for us as municipalities, right? So we come to a municipality like Hallandale Beach or Coconut Creek, and it's very easy sometimes, they understand, they speak the language, they get it. But then there's other municipalities that are very different, and their dynamics and their constructs are not there, right? They really don't see how food access may be needed in their communities. I think a lot of the problem too is that a lot of the ideas around food access really focus on food deserts for a very long time, and they were focusing on like these spaces that were without food. However, what the pandemic has really reminded us is that there's a lot of food insecurity beyond those spaces, right? There's elderly, there's young people, there's people that are immigrants, there's a lot of different places and people that are in other locations that are still experiencing food insecurity and lack of health access, whether they are in Weston or in Hallandale Beach. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Yes, the zones that have an issue are very important, and we need to always focus on those areas. But then there's always this other cases, right? So it's very interesting that there are some cities that don't think that that's an issue and that they don't need to work on it. So it's not so NIMBY-ish, but it is a little bit, right? Like, why do we need a pantry? We don't need a pantry. But then Hillary and I will be like, yes, you need a pantry. So I think it's a very interesting thing that is still happening, but I'm hoping that with the pandemic and with the coming back from the pandemic, we really put attention to these things, right? That we don't always know who's going hungry. We don't always know who's experiencing mental health issues. We don't always know who's experiencing economic strains. Like there's so many things that are happening in our communities that we are not privy of, and that we just need to make sure that we can provide what we know is needed in the community in general, or what people may be not wanting to talk about, but might need. Right? So there was another great question over here, and I'm going to open it up now. So please, this is our last slide. We are a food system together, all of our bodies, every part of us, and everything we eat. We are all rooted in this earth, and we are all really here to nurture each other. That's what I believe in, and I think I'm being very blessed to be able to carry that through my work with UHP and Food for All. And I am just very grateful to be here today. I'll leave this up, but Kendra, if you want to open it up to gallery view, and if any of you want to get yourselves off of the camera, I was going to kind of pick on Lucius, who shared a little. Yes.
Yes. My name is Lou Murray. I'm co-chair of the Minnesota Food Action Council that represents both Manatee and Sarasota County. And I want to thank you guys for inviting us. I'm learning a lot. It's good to collaborate and find out what everybody else is doing. It's very helpful. But my question is, one of the things we're running into is that we work with a lot of underserved communities. And what's happening is the emergency food system, you know, the pantries, the food banks are basically taking over our food systems in our underserved communities. And I know that it's meant to help the people that are hungry and don't have food. But when you're inundated with free food by the refrigerator truck full, what it does, it hurts your food system. As we trying to create community-based food systems, when you're getting free food, meats and cereal and just about everything, seafood and just about everything of that nature, we have created what we call an EBT farmers market in underserved communities that are run by, in our case, run by people in public housing, so that they can control their food system, you know. And so we open up the EBT farmers market and got EBT systems in there, and we got the fresh access bucks, and it's ran by the community. But they're hurting now because they're getting all of this free food, and people are not using the EBT card correctly. They're selling the EBT card, they're using it to buy tobacco and drugs and alcohol. And what I'm saying is that the emergency food system that we're creating, and everybody's all excited about it during the food banks and the pantries, but it's wiping out any type of program that we can create community enterprises. We're trying to open up, you know, we got the community farmers markets, and we're trying to open up our community-based grocery store, or co-op, or buying co-ops, and we're not able to, you know, that's the emergency food system that they got is taken over underserved communities' food system. I mean, 100%. It can be a partner, it can be part of, but when it takes over, it really hurts us as we're trying to get people back to work and create businesses in their communities and underserved community. It just knocked that out the window.
Thank you so much, Lou, for that. And I think you bring a very, very important point. We have a little bit of time, and I want to hear from a couple other people that raised their hand, but let's talk more about that, because it definitely is something that we need to start thinking about, because there is a need and there's people that can provide for that need, but then there's also strengthening. And then there's also, you know, like the teaching to fish type of analogy, right? Exactly. So thank you so much, Lou. And I please grab my email there and let's talk more. And now I'm gonna ask Erica. I see you, Erica Hardison. I have your hand up, and then after that, Kim Johnson. So I would love to have you both, and then we can come back to the topic. But Erica, and thank you, Lou, again.
Yeah, thank you.
Erica Hardison.
Yeah, I'm not sure if people can hear me and see me at this moment, because I can't. But I think Lou brings up a very good point. And I think what he's kind of discussing is food sovereignty, which is a very integral part of the food system, is really making your own food choices. Because when we have pantries and emergency food sources, a lot of times that food is food that is in excess or somehow finding its way out of the current food system, right? In some way, shape, or form. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is, and to see amongst all the people on the call, is how are people using alternative structures such as co-ops? Because co-ops solve a lot of the issues and a lot of the things that you mentioned: livable wages, people having access to food, people getting choice in the food that they want, people working together, entrepreneurship, economic development, and things of that nature. So, I mean, my question would be to add on to Lou's comment about food sovereignty, but also address how we can incorporate cooperatives and give people that alternative structure for improving their well-being in communities.
Thank you so much, Erica. And I actually loved the forum when you spoke about the grocery co-op. So thank you for being here today. And I definitely want to connect with you more, because I actually have a personal friend who we were talking about a grocery co-op here in Broward County. And I know there's a couple others in Miami right now. We're working with a group of Black-owned businesses that want to do a co-op in Liberty City. So we would love to chat with you. And I agree with and I agree with you that we need to have those alternatives. The example that I shared about the Food Systems Action Collaborative, FSAC, that is we don't have a formal governance structure yet, but we are not wanting to nonprofitize. We're wanting to stay how we are, to figure out what our governance structure is going to be, and who knows, right? But I think that there's definitely a lot of alternative structures coming up with what's happening right now, and we just have to continue to test it out so that we can do more for more. And I have. Thank you again, Erica. And again, I think you can go back. It was last month, right?
Right.
Yeah, if you go to last month's forum, you can see that video. Erica was talking about more of this grocery co-ops, and please go. The Florida Food Policy Council has a wealth of information in their source. So please become a member. It's not expensive, and you get a lot of access to amazing knowledge and a great bunch of people from our state. Kim Johnson, please go ahead.
Hi, well, I find this interesting. So I'm the founder of Farm to Trunk, which is a nonprofit here in Orlando. And the money we raise, I use to buy food from an organic farmer in Fort Pierce, an aquaponics farmer in Yalaha, an out of work stagehand became a hydroponic farmer, and also an artisan soap maker who was a musician that was out of work. So I had an opportunity to be like other food banks and just give almost bad food ready to go bad to people. And I really, it was so against what I wanted to do. And my farmer lost his work at the same time my stagehands lost their work. So we've spent the last year and a half actually raising about $35,000, and that's where the money goes, is to the growers or makers. And then we distribute free bags of organic produce that was usually picked the day before, and that goes out to food insecure. So our next phase is to start an online market to create more sales channels for those growers and to introduce that really good local produce to higher end neighborhoods, so that money can help to support the EBT level neighborhoods. And my big goal is to have a food truck in 3 years. But I hadn't heard somebody voice what you said, but I feel like how I'm going about it, you really helped me feel better about the way I'm going about it, because I really believe that the growers need to be supported, and then we'll address the food insecurity in the deserts. I'm trying to introduce people to fruits and vegetables that are local and in season, and doing some educational programs, and again, teaching them how to fish. So I wish you were like right next door in Orlando, but anybody that's in Orlando, this is what I'm up to.
Thank you so much, Kim. And there's definitely folks out there we are actually the partner that I mentioned that you should connect to if you're not connected to, United Farmers Alliance. They do a lot of great work in the Palm Beach area, but they're actually looking to expand, and their model is about a lot of the things that you did, connecting the farmers directly to the consumers. So thank you again for sharing. And now I'm going to go to your Same name. Kim.
Yes, there is one more Kim Johnson, and Kim Johnson, I am in Orlando too. So there are now two Kim Johnsons in Orlando. So yeah, I'd love to connect with you, Kim. So if you could put give us your email, that'd be great, because we are local. But I do have a question. Florida Impact is getting ready to expand our programming into a rural community that's in Madison. It's Madison County, Florida, which you guys might not know, but it's considered the poorest county in Florida right now. And so we're doing some community engagement work. We did a great summer break spot program. But anyway, my question to you is, one of the things that I heard that you all do, and as I continue to learn more and more about what you do, is that I wanted to hire somebody from the community, and we don't normally do this, but this is what I wanted to do. So we hired somebody from the community, two people from the community that we're calling community ambassadors. And I'm just I would love to be able to talk a little bit about what you see that this young person that's in the community that could help us to kind of map out some things that's going on in the community from his perspective. There's lots of people that are doing things, but it doesn't seem like the young people are being included in. And unfortunately, one of the things that this young man said to me, he said there's three things that go on in Madison County. He said, either you work at the jail, either you go to jail, or either you work at the chicken plant. Those are the three things that you do in Madison County. So my thing is, I want to somehow be able to go into that community and help there be more dreams going on in that place, when it comes to young people and what they see their world would look like if they would just be able to get a little bit of help. So I would love to talk to anybody who has just some suggestions for me. And I would love to talk to you too, just to see what we can do that you think we could help. Thank you.
It sounds like we're going to have a follow-up to this,
Yeah,
Erica. So
yeah, we're going to have to
I'm
do
going to
a
pass it on
follow-up.
to you.
Yes.
But we do need a follow-up, and I know there's something coming up for members. So let's hear all that, because maybe that's where we can continue this convos. This is great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all so much. Thank you, for all our presenters, our sponsors, and everyone for attending. Aurelia, it sounds like part 2. You and I could talk about that offline. But before I wrap up and thank everybody, I just want to give a special shout out to my own food champions locally. I have the honor and privilege of living in the Sunshine City of St. Petersburg, Florida, who's doing amazing things around food access, food insecurity, looking at things, the work with the youth farm. And I believe we may have Gina Driscoll, who's one of our food champions. And last month, Brandy Gabbard presented, who's our other food access champion, and her and Gina together both worked on setting up the St. Pete Food Policy Council, and just so many of the urban agriculture ordinances and the work that we do in St. Pete, resolutions around hunger and public health and racism. So Gina, if you're on the call, not to put you on the spot, if you want to just come off mute really quick, I'd like to just thank you for the incredible work that you and the council have done in St. Pete. Okay, Gina must be on mute, or she must be in another meeting, but another time. I just want to thank her. And also in the chat, Erica Hardison. There's an event tomorrow with the youth and food policy and food equity and the youth co-op. So please, thank you all again for coming. Let me wrap it up. Kendra, if you'd like to talk about donation or sponsoring a forum, go ahead and close it out. And thank you all again.
Well, thank you everyone so much for being on our forum today. Thank you to our guest speakers. Thank you to our sponsors, Aurelia, Commissioner Sabrina Javellana, Commissioner Sandra Welch, Miss Linda Whitman, everyone else who participated in our Q&A session. We're just so honored to have you with us and to share your knowledge. And our goal really is to make connections statewide. So we hope that this forum is a way for you to build on those connections and connect with each other. We know that there's never enough time for our question and answer session. So if you did have a question or a comment that we weren't able to get to, please send us an email. Our email address is info@flfpc.org. We're always happy to connect you to the best of our abilities. Next month, we are not going to be having a normal forum. Instead, we're going to be having a special networking event for our council members. So if you are not a member, please consider joining. It's only $25 for the entire year. You get to come to some really cool networking sessions. You get to be a part of this community, and we are all volunteers. We do this because we love our food system and we love to help each other. So visit our website, flfpc.org. Our event is going to be on September 17th. All the information is up on the website as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. And we hope to see you there. So thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Areli, and to all of our speakers.
Thank you, everyone, for an incredible session. Incredible. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I left my info in the chat too, if you want to contact at any time and connect with each other. I love to see all those connections on the chat. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.